My name was Omar. I was the chief of police in Chicago, respected in my community, a symbol of law and order. My days were filled with duty, tradition, and an unwavering commitment to my faith. From the outside, I seemed unshakable, a pillar of strength clad in uniform and devotion. Yet inside, I was crumbling, haunted by a restless spirit and questions that lingered like shadows in the dim corners of my heart. Every prayer felt like a routine, a performance, rather than a connection. I stood before the sacred verses, but the words echoed emptiness, betraying the longing for something more profound. In those moments of silent reflection, I felt the weight of an unseen veil. Something was wrong, but I suppressed the doubts. Tradition demanded my allegiance, even as my soul began to stir with disquiet. Then, everything changed. A fateful day of service turned into an encounter with death. An accident in the line of duty thrust me into a realm beyond this earthly existence, a place where time ceased to matter, and the brightness of truth pierced through my darkness. I came face to face with Jesus, radiant and powerful, revealing truths that shattered the very foundation of what I had believed. In that suspended moment, I witnessed a war, the spiritual battle around us, the chains of control embedded deep within our beliefs. I was shown how the faith I held dear was cloaked in layers of deception, a system that sought to govern my soul through fear and rigidity. The realization struck me. I wasn't fighting for God. I was ensnared by a construct, a facade that masked the beauty of true freedom. When I woke, the world felt different. I was branded a traitor by those I loved. The truth had set me free, while the toll of my awakening weighed heavily on my heart. In the shadows of secrecy, I began a quiet exploration. The Bible became my companion, and with it, newfound questions transformed into hopes, a yearning to understand this Jesus who had come to save me. So in this video, I invite you to journey with me. Together, we will uncover the divine truths that surged through my life after that encounter. Prepare to confront the depths of your own heart and the realities that threaten to keep you in the dark. Before we begin, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Where are you watching from, and what time is it there? And if you feel the tug of something greater within you, subscribe to Truth from Beyond. If you love Jesus and seek the light of revelation, you won't want to miss what's coming next. As a police chief in a vibrant Chicago neighborhood, I always believed my life was grounded in the principles of justice and community service. My name is Amir Malik. I was raised in a predominantly Muslim area where traditions ran deep and where everyone knew everyone. There was a strong sense of belonging, but also an undercurrent of fear that surrounded differing ideologies. This fear often manifested as strict adherence to customs, leaving little room for questioning or exploration. As a law enforcement officer, my duty was to maintain peace, to uphold the values I had been taught, yet I often felt the weight of contradiction pressing heavily on my shoulders. Last summer, as I investigated a series of incidents threatening our community, I found myself spiraling into a state of exhaustion and frustration. The weight of my responsibilities felt overwhelming, and my nightly prayers became filled with desperation. I had long suppressed my own doubts about faith. When I closed my eyes to pray, it often felt as if I were sending my words into an empty void. One particularly tense day, overwhelmed by the dire circumstances surrounding my community, I collapsed in the middle of the police station, slipping into unconsciousness. In that fleeting moment, as I drifted into a profound state of darkness, I felt myself caught between worlds. It was there that the light began to flicker, and from that light, a figure emerged. Jesus stood before me, encompassing a warmth and love that transcended all my fears and doubts. "Amir?" He called softly, and hearing my name from him felt like a gentle awakening. As I stood in his presence, the burdens of my role and the pressures of my life faded away. He began to share revelations with me, truths that shattered the illusions I had harbored about faith and authority. Through this divine encounter, I saw the hidden agenda that manipulated not just my community, but the global narrative we all participated in. I was shown how the elite wielded deception as a tool to keep us divided, using fear to reinforce compliance with societal norms. I witnessed how technology fueled these agendas, creating barriers that isolated us from one another and fostered misunderstanding. Jesus revealed the spiritual war that raged around us, one that shackled the hearts of individuals to maintain control and perpetuate violence. It was a stark and urgent call to awareness, to recognize the forces at play and to rise against them. As the light around Jesus began to dim and I felt the pull back to my body, I awoke in the police station, gasping for breath. The experience felt surreal, yet the clarity of purpose burning within me was undeniable. I now understood that my mission extended beyond protecting the community. It was a calling to help others see the truth, to illuminate the path toward awakening. Yet the fear of how my family and colleagues might react to my newfound beliefs loomed large. The idea of being ostracized from both my heritage and my vocation sent ripples of anxiety through my heart. Still, I felt compelled to share what I had learned, to open the doors of understanding wide enough for others to step through into the light of truth. Perhaps together we could begin to heal the divides that had long kept us apart. As the police chief of a bustling neighborhood in Chicago, I carry the weight of both respect and expectation. My name is Omar, and at 45, I've spent my life serving the community. When people see me, they notice my robust appearance, but what they often miss is the sadness lurking behind my eyes. Despite my position, I struggle with an emotional void that has grown deeper over the years, and the question of faith has become a thorn in my side. Each day feels like an exercise in balancing duty with the growing doubts that swirl within me, especially as I confront the harsh realities of the world around us. I've always believed in justice, in doing what's right, but the constant exposure to humanity's darker sides left scars on my spirit. Every call I answered, every crime I witnessed, chipped away at my resolve. In the quiet moments when the adrenaline fades, the shadows of despair creep in, making me question the very essence of my beliefs. Was my commitment to faith merely a cultural obligation, or was I being called to something far deeper? These thoughts plagued me, especially during those moments of solitude when the emptiness felt overwhelming. Then came the day that changed everything. After a particularly brutal altercation in the neighborhood, I collapsed from exhaustion. As I faded away into darkness, I was pulled into a realm that felt both terrifying and oddly familiar. In that abyss, I encountered a brilliant light, and there stood Jesus, his presence illuminating the darkness around me. "Omar," he spoke, and that single word shattered the silence within my heart. In that moment, I felt seen, understood, and embraced by a love that transcended my understanding of faith. His presence filled me with a peace so profound that all my fears melted away. In our encounter, Jesus began to reveal the hidden agendas that govern our world. The manipulation by the elite that keeps us entrapped in cycles of fear and division. I witnessed how the spiritual war extends beyond personal conflicts, reaching into the very fabric of society. I saw how organized power structures twist our beliefs, using faith as a tool to control minds and hearts. With each revelation, the layers of deception unfolded before me, igniting a fierce resolve to seek the truth, to awaken not just myself but also those around me who were equally blinded by the smoke and mirrors. As the light began to dim, and I felt the pull back to my physical form, a sense of urgency rooted itself in my soul. I awoke with a gasp, filled with fresh clarity and purpose, yet the shadows of doubt were slow to dissipate. The fear of rejection from my community clawed at my heart, making me hesitate. How could I share what had been revealed to me? Would my colleagues understand, or would I be cast aside as a heretic? But I knew I could not ignore the calling any longer. To remain silent was to allow the deception to continue unchallenged. I had to act, even if doing so meant risking everything I had worked for. With that unwavering determination, I prepared to confront the spiritual war that demands we stand bravely in the face of fear, ready to advocate for the truth and foster an awakening that could change lives forever. As I knelt in prayer, I could feel a growing emptiness washing over me, a stark contrast to the devotion I once felt. My name is Omar, and as a police chief in a bustling Chicago neighborhood, I took pride in my role protecting my community. But beneath my robust exterior, I was grappling with deep-seated doubts about my faith. The rituals that had guided my life now left me feeling increasingly disconnected from the truth I yearned for. I found myself questioning the very authority I had dedicated my life to, wondering if my adherence to tradition was blinding me to a deeper spiritual reality. Every day as I recited the familiar prayers, a sense of disquiet settled in. Each utterance felt like an echo in an empty room, reverberating off walls that no longer felt sacred. Alongside this spiritual void, I was beset by vivid dreams that transported me to dark places where shadows loomed, filling me with a sense of foreboding. In these dreams, I wandered through corridors of doubt, seeking light but only finding the heavy weight of despair pulling me further into obscurity. It was a harrowing experience that left me questioning not only my faith, but my purpose in the world. Then, one fateful evening, after another restless night filled with anxiety, I collapsed from exhaustion while on duty. In that moment, darkness enveloped me completely, and I found myself lost between the realms of consciousness and oblivion. Suddenly, I was pulled into a bright, radiant light that filled my being with warmth and understanding. In that celestial presence stood Jesus, his love wrapping around me like a protective cloak. Omar, he called my name, and the sound resonated within me like a long-lost melody. In that moment, every fear, every doubt I had ever harbored began to dissipate. As Jesus spoke, profound truths unfolded before me, revelations that shattered the illusions I had clung to for so long. He revealed the hidden agendas of the elite, how a spiritual war was being waged not just in my heart, but across the globe. I saw how the manipulation of fear and deception had led to division within communities, where faith had become a tool rather than a source of liberation. I understood that the societal struggles we face stem from a deliberate obscuring of the truth, designed to keep us fragmented and powerless. The injustices that I had sworn to fight against began to take shape in front of me, manifesting the urgent need for awakening. When I awoke, I gasped for air, feeling the weight of this revelation settle over me like a calling. I knew I had been given insight not only to strengthen my own faith, but to enlighten others caught in the same web of confusion. The path that lay before me was fraught with challenges, and the fear of rejection from my community still gnawed at my heart. I felt the pull to share my awakening growing stronger, despite the potential backlash I might face. The task ahead felt monumental, but the urgency to spread the truth, to advocate love amidst a world desperately in need of healing, trumped the fear that threatened to hold me back. In that moment, I resolved to step into my divine purpose, ready to become a voice for change in the midst of a spiritual war that demanded attention. The day of the operation started like any other, but there was an energy in the air that felt different. I'm Omar, a police chief in Chicago, trusted by my community and colleagues alike. Yet, beneath the surface of my duty, a growing sense of unease plagued me. Our mission that day was to confront a rising tide of violence in the neighborhood, and as the sun rose, I felt the weight of responsibility heavy on my chest. Little did I know that this day would change my life forever. During the operation, chaos erupted. Gunfire rang out, and in the chaos, I was struck. I remember the piercing pain as darkness swallowed me whole. My world faded to black, and I found myself suspended in a void, weightless and disoriented. It was then that I experienced what I can only describe as a near-death experience, a profound shift where the boundaries of reality blurred and I crossed over to a realm beyond my understanding. In that realm, I encountered Jesus. His presence was incandescent, radiating warmth and an indescribable familiarity. He stood before me, piercing through my fears and doubts with compassion and understanding. "Omar," he said, and his voice wrapped around me like a protective embrace. In that moment, everything else dissipated. The pain, the chaos, the weight of my responsibilities transformed into clarity. Jesus began to reveal to me the truth of the spiritual war that pervades our world, a struggle that I had been unknowingly part of throughout my life. He unveiled the hidden agenda of those in power, how the elite manipulate beliefs and control narratives to keep us divided and fearful. I was shown the ways in which traditional religious systems often serve to stifle genuine spiritual awakening, leveraging deception to maintain control over the masses. The struggles I witnessed in my community, the anger, the violence, the deep divisions, were symptoms of this broader manipulation. As these revelations flooded my consciousness, I felt a growing urgency to awaken from my ignorance and share this truth with others, to stand against the forces that sought to deceive us. As Jesus continued to impart his wisdom, I understood that my experience was not just a personal awakening, it was a call to action. I felt the weight of responsibility settle upon me, urging me to return to my life and become a vessel for these truths. But as the realization dawned, I felt the pull of consciousness dragging me back to my body. I awoke in the hospital, surrounded by the sterile smell of antiseptics, the beeping of machines, a harsh reminder of reality. The spiritual war one had encountered was now part of my mission, and I knew that despite the pain and potential rejection I would face, my duty was to share the revelations I had received and inspire others to see beyond the deceptions that bound them. In that moment, I vowed to embark on this journey of awakening, one that I hoped would unite those yearning for truth amidst the spiritual battles we all face. As I awoke in the hospital, the sterile fluorescent lights forced me back into a harsh reality. But what truly shocked me was the weight of rejection I felt like a leaden cloak around my shoulders. My name is Omar, a police chief in Chicago, and I had recently experienced a life-altering encounter, one that led me to embrace beliefs I once thought impossible. But upon returning to consciousness, the reactions of those I loved and respected cut deeper than any wound. My family viewed me as a traitor for my newfound beliefs, and those accusations echoed in my mind like a haunting refrain. The truth I had discovered felt like a double-edged sword, offering liberation on one side and isolation on the other. The emotional toll was immense. As they turned their backs on me, I grappled with guilt and sadness, questioning whether I had betrayed my heritage or, worse, my own convictions. I had dedicated my life to serving our community, yet the very foundation of my identity seemed to crumble. I found myself in a spiritual war, caught between the pull of my traditional upbringing and the urgent awakening of deeper truths that had been revealed to me during my near-death experience. In moments of quiet despair, I turned to Jesus, seeking solace and understanding in the chaos that enveloped my heart. In secret, I began to explore the Bible, drawn to its pages like a moth to a flame. Each verse I read felt like a lifeline, offering insights and revelations that resonated with the truths I had encountered during my experience. I watched testimonies of those who had faced similar struggles, and the stories filled me with hope. Slowly, I began to understand the hidden social agendas at play, the manipulation of beliefs by the elite, the way fear and deception are used to keep people divided. It felt as if a veil was lifting, revealing the systemic oppression that I had blindly accepted for too long. Yet, amidst this awakening, I was filled with anxiety. What if my exploration was considered a departure from everything I had stood for? The fear of being marginalized whispered treacherously in my ear, but the passion for truth grew stronger. I couldn't ignore the revelations I had received, nor could I disrespect the wisdom found in both my heritage and the teachings of Jesus. The thought of reconciling these worlds felt heavy, especially when my heart longed for the acceptance of those I loved. In my prayers, I sought guidance from Jesus, yearning for strength in navigating this tumultuous journey. Each day became a struggle, but also a testament to the faith I was nurturing within myself. I began to forge connections with others who shared the same thirst for understanding, creating a community of seekers committed to awakening in the face of a world rife with division. Together, we discussed the urgent need to share the truth, to rally against the hidden agendas designed to keep us fearful and compliant. The road ahead remained uncertain, but I knew that I had to stand up for the awakening I had experienced, both for myself and for the hope of reconciling with my family one day. Each step forward was filled with faith, purpose, and an unwavering commitment to uncovering and sharing the truth. As I delved deeper into my investigation, I found myself navigating through a world filled with complexities and shadows. My name is Omar, the police chief in a Chicago neighborhood that bustles with life yet quietly harbors a deep sense of struggle. My heart often felt heavy as I witnessed the injustices around me. There was a palpable tension that simmered beneath the surface, and although I had dedicated my career to serving my community, I secretly grappled with doubts about the faith I had followed for so long. The spiritual war within me intensified, fueled by questions that echoed in the quiet mornings long after the dawn had faded. In my search for understanding, I discreetly began watching videos of Christians sharing their transformative experiences. Their stories resonated with the awakening I felt stirring inside me, a deep yearning for truth that felt almost tangible. These individuals described encounters with Jesus that shifted their entire perspectives, and I felt an inexplicable connection to their journeys. With each testimony, I glimpsed a life filled with purpose, a stark contrast to the confusion clouding my own. It was as if a door I had never known existed slowly creaked open, inviting me to explore the depths of my own beliefs. I sought out a small group of fellow believers connected to these testimonies. Meeting them felt like stepping into a much-needed sanctuary. I found comfort in their warmth and acceptance, a stark contrast to the judgments I feared from my family and community. We shared our struggles and prayed together, an experience that filled the emptiness within me with a sense of belonging. For the first time in years, I felt a glimmer of peace settle in my heart. We spoke of spiritual awakening and the need for truth, and it dawned on me that I was not alone in this journey. Many were grappling with similar feelings of disillusionment. As I continued to explore these new relationships and experiences, I felt the call to make my first sincere prayers to Jesus. I prayed for guidance, for clarity, and for the courage to follow where this path might lead me. The more I prayed, the more I sensed the layers of deception that had kept me shackled to fear were beginning to peel away. I was discovering a love that promised liberation, a truth that invited me to step forward boldly, regardless of the potential fallout. But intertwined with this awakening was the quiet but persistent desire for baptism, a public declaration of my newfound faith. Yet, that desire was mired in anxiety about the costs of such a decision. Would I be rejected for stepping outside the confines of my upbringing? The thought of my family's reaction loomed large, casting a shadow over my spiritual journey. I wrestled with the fear of exclusion while being drawn ever closer to the light of truth that Jesus had revealed to me. I was at a pivotal crossroads, caught between the loyalty to my heritage and the awakening, urging me to embrace a new life. But I knew deep within that the spiritual war won was engaged in demanded action. Living in truth and spreading the love I had discovered would never be easy, but it was a battle worth fighting, and I felt determined to face whatever lay ahead. In the days that followed my awakening, the clarity I thought I had gained was overshadowed by a storm of uncertainty. My name is Omar, and as a police chief in Chicago, I've always prided myself on serving my community with honor and integrity. Yet, when I encountered Jesus during that harrowing moment after my collapse, I realized that I had been called for something greater. It wasn't just about policing the streets or upholding the law anymore. It was about responding to a divine revelation that would challenge everything I believed and the very foundations of my faith. As the shock of my experience settled, I understood that I could no longer remain silent about the truth I had discovered. The divine encounter revealed to me a hidden agenda, a manipulation of faith by the elite, who orchestrate a spiritual war that keeps people divided and subservient. This realization filled me with urgency. I could not stand by and allow others to continue living under the weight of this deception. The spiritual awakening I was experiencing was not just for my benefit, but a call to action for those around me. I was determined to alert others to the profound truths lying beneath the surface, where love and understanding reside. Yet, as I contemplated this mission, the fear of how my community would react loomed large. I recalled the faces of my family and neighbors, people who had known me my whole life. What would they think of this new direction? Would they brand me a traitor, a heretic? The potential for rejection weighed heavily on my heart, a tangible reminder of the cost of my awakening. I felt the tension rising within me, caught between the pull of my newfound beliefs and the fear of losing the only community I had ever known. In the quiet hours of the night, I found myself returning to prayer as a source of solace. I sought guidance from Jesus, pleading for courage to walk this difficult path. Each prayer became a lifeline, urging me to embrace my calling, despite the risks involved. I envisioned the possibility of sharing my story with others who were also searching for truth, who might feel lost in the shadows of their own confusion. Together we could confront the hidden agendas that cloud our spiritual clarity, dismantling the walls that divide us. As I began to find ways to share my testimony, I sought out gatherings of people yearning for spiritual depth. I connected with small groups devoted to exploring faith outside conventional boundaries, and together we formed a drumbeat of awakening against the backdrop of societal deception. The conversations were filled with urgency as we discussed current events and the ways in which the elite manipulate our perceptions through politics and media. With every story shared, I felt an overwhelming sense of purpose igniting within me. I understood that stepping into this mission would not only require unwavering faith, but also the courage to face whatever backlash awaited me. As my resolve strengthened, I realized that this spiritual war would not be won in silence. Our voices united could challenge the very fabric of deception woven into our lives. As I stood at the crossroads of my life, I felt the weight of the world pressing down on my shoulders. My name is Omar, and as the police chief of a vibrant Chicago neighborhood, I had always strived to uphold justice and serve my community. Yet, after the revelation I had during that life-altering encounter with Jesus, everything had irrevocably changed. The truths he shared with me opened my eyes to the hidden agenda manipulating the beliefs and actions of those around me. I realized that this was a spiritual war, one where the elite used deception to keep communities fragmented and fearful, and I could no longer stand idly by. In the months that followed, I contemplated the impact of my awakening. I realized that my past life felt increasingly suffocating, filled with expectations and traditions that no longer resonated with the truth I'd discovered. The spiritual war one had witnessed during my near-death experience compelled me to leave my old life behind. With a heavy heart but a renewed sense of purpose, I made the decision to relocate to a new area, one that would allow me to embrace my faith openly and serve as a vessel for change. This was a symbolic act of liberation, a public declaration of my commitment to a new beginning that aligned with the truths I had uncovered. Once settled in my new community, I felt a wave of exhilaration alongside anxiety. I began sharing my testimony, telling others about my encounter with Jesus and the profound revelations that followed. In doing so, I found a sense of freedom that I hadn't experienced in years. The burdens of guilt and fear of rejection began to lift, replaced by a passion to spread the message of awakening. Speaking about the deception that permeated our society, I urged others to seek the truth and confront the hidden agendas that sought to manipulate and control us. My mission wasn't without its challenges. I encountered skepticism from some who viewed my transformation as a betrayal of my heritage. They questioned my integrity, my motives, and my newfound beliefs. Yet, the truth burned brightly within me, a flame that refused to be extinguished by doubt. I reminded myself that even amidst rejection, there was a profound sense of purpose in proclaiming the message I had received. Each soul I connected with became a testament to the spiritual awakening we all desperately needed, pushing back against the forces that sought to diminish our faith and unity. With each conversation, I felt the urgency of the situation grow more pressing. The world outside was rife with division, political unrest, social strife, and technological manipulation were tools wielded by those in power, and many remained unaware of the spiritual war being fought for their hearts and minds. I realized this was a time for action, a time to rally those willing to stand against the tide of deception. The journey ahead promised to be difficult, fraught with opposition, yet I was resolute. My commitment to share the revelation of Jesus would not falter, for in the end, I believed that love and truth would prevail over the darkness, seeking to engulf us all. Years have passed since I experienced that life-altering moment, and while I now live in a new community, the shadows of my past still linger. My name is Omar, and I'm a police chief who once served in a neighborhood filled with vibrant cultures and deep traditions. After my encounter with Jesus during a traumatic investigation, I embarked on a path that transformed my understanding of faith and purpose. I've shared my testimony with others, and I've seen lives positively impacted, but the ache of separation from my family remains a constant weight on my heart. Despite this, I've found hope in the community I've built, and that hope fuels my commitment to spread the truth. Each day, I reflect on my journey, confronting the painful reality that my family views me as a traitor. The internal conflict is palpable. I cherish my heritage even as I embrace the revelations I received. Jesus exposed the hidden agenda of the elite, revealing how they manipulate faith and culture to sow division among us. This spiritual war, which I had once ignored, has become my reality. A struggle not just for my own soul, but for the hearts and minds of countless individuals seeking truth amid deception. While speaking to groups about my experiences, I feel the presence of Jesus guiding me, reminding me of the divine purpose that compelled me to embark on this journey. In this new community, I've encountered others who share similar struggles and disillusionments. Together, we formed a support network, discussing the revelations of the spiritual battle and the lies we've been fed. As we gather, I see the flicker of awakening in their eyes, a thirst for understanding that mirrors my own. It's empowering to witness how our shared experiences foster courage and determination to confront the forces that seek to divide us. The conversations we have are filled with urgency. We know that time is not on our side as we engage in this struggle to uncover the truth. Yet, despite the camaraderie, I often wake in the night, haunted by dreams of my family's disappointment. I long for reconciliation, for the chance to rebuild the bonds that fracture under the weight of my beliefs. Each prayer I offer is a plea for understanding, both for them and for myself. I wrestle with guilt over the pain my choices may cause them. But as I navigate these emotions, I also hold tight to the hope that one day they will see the truth of my transformation and the love that drives my mission. The fear of exclusion hangs heavy, yet the truth remains my guiding light, urging me onward. Through my journey of awakening, I feel a responsibility to continue sharing the message Jesus entrusted to me. I understand that this spiritual war is not just mine to fight. It's a collective struggle that calls us all to action. By standing firm in our beliefs and advocating for love and unity, we can dismantle the walls that have long kept us apart. With each passing day, I prepare to meet whatever challenges lie ahead, committed to being a vessel for the truth in a world that desperately needs to awaken. As I extend my hand to others, I remain resolute in my mission to make an impact, knowing that every step taken in faith may lead to profound transformations for not just myself, but for everyone longing to break free from the shadows. As a police chief in Chicago, I've always prided myself on my commitment to serve and protect my community. My name is Omar, and I dedicated my life to uphold justice in a neighborhood steeped in Muslim traditions. But inside, I was wrestling with an empty feeling, a growing emptiness that gnawed at my spirit each time I donned my uniform. I would listen to the adhan, the call to prayer, as it resonated throughout the streets, yet a part of me felt disconnected, trapped in a cycle where routine overshadowed any genuine spiritual connection. This internal struggle escalated during a particularly intense investigation. The pressures of my role weighed heavily on me, and one night, while chasing down leads in a dark alley, I was struck by a car. My world turned into chaos within moments. Everything went black, and as I slipped away from consciousness, I found myself engulfed in darkness, a profound silence wrapping around me like a heavy blanket. It was in this void that I encountered a light, so bright it pierced through my despair, and from that light emerged Jesus, his presence breathing love and warmth into my frozen soul. Omar, he called, and in that singular moment everything shifted. In the presence of Jesus, I felt a wave of compassion wash over me, lifting the burdens that had formed over years of doubt and fear. He began to reveal truths that shattered my previous understanding of the world. I witnessed the hidden agenda of the elite, how they manipulated faith and culture to maintain control and perpetuate divisions among us. The realization struck me hard: the spiritual war. One felt brewing was not just within my heart but played out on a global stage, shaping society in ways I had never acknowledged before. As visions flooded my mind, I saw the struggles of the community I served, the conflicts fueled by ignorance and fear, the divisions reinforced by societal structures that sought to keep us compliant, violence, socioeconomic divides, and the manipulation of belief systems unfolded before me. I understood in that moment how dangerously deceptive the forces were that sought to keep us from the truth. The very traditions I had clung to, while beautiful, could also be twisted to serve hidden agendas, obscuring the essence of love and unity that Jesus represented. As the light began to fade, I felt that familiar pull back to my body, the urgent truths pressing on my heart. I awoke in the hospital, gasping for breath and overwhelmed by what had been revealed to me. The clarity of my encounter with Jesus ignited a fire within me, a calling to embrace the truth and share it with others, despite the fear of backlash, despite the weight of rejection from my family and community. This awakening was no longer just my journey. It was a mission to confront the deception and be a voice for those who felt trapped and unable to rise above the chaos. I knew then that I had to advocate for the truth, whether it brought me pain or liberation. With that resolve, I stepped into a fresh chapter of my life, ready to face whatever challenges awaited me as I embraced this new calling with open arms. As I lay in that hospital bed, grappling with the enormity of my experience, one question constantly echoed in my mind. What if the spiritual awakening that I had received was meant for more than just me? I am Omar, and as the dust of my old life settled around me, I realized that this wasn't just a personal journey. It was a calling to awaken others, a call to unite those who have been asleep, lost in a world designed to keep us divided and fearful. Because what I experienced in the light was just a glimpse of the truth that many remain blind to. In my encounter with Jesus, I witnessed the very fabric of our realities being manipulated, intricately spun by invisible hands as a means to control our thoughts and beliefs. I saw how the elite deploy fear to fracture our communities, perpetuating suffering while silencing the truth. I felt an urgency to share what I had learned, a truth that, if embraced, could liberate countless souls bound by the chains of deception. But I know the path ahead is fraught with challenges. My heart aches knowing that sharing this message might drive a wedge between me and those I hold dear. Yet, I must trust that those who seek the light will recognize the validity of my journey. And so, I turn to you, my fellow truth seekers. Have you ever felt the stirrings of something deeper, something that compels you to question? Have you encountered moments that shifted your understanding of faith and spirituality? I invite you to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Your voice matters, and together, we can illuminate the darkness that seeks to divide us. I read every comment, and your stories inspire me to continue this quest for truth. If my story resonates with you, if it sparks even the slightest flicker of hope, I encourage you to subscribe to Truth from Beyond and hit that notification bell. It's essential for you to stay connected as we delve into more revealing journeys that unravel the mysteries of our existence. Together we will explore the depths of spirituality and the profound awakenings that await us all. In the next video, I'll share the testimony of someone who, just like me, faced their own awakening amidst trials. Someone who discovered a powerful truth that changed everything. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I'm Omar, and remember, the truth waits patiently, seeking those brave enough to embrace it.